Hello everyone, welcome back to Naturally Captive. I'm Jasenia, I'm a parrot behaviorist and parrot owner, and today I'm joined by three of my birds. There we go. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the top 5 reasons why parrots bite. Now, these are not all the reasons why a parrot may be biting, but they're my top 5 that I've seen the most when working with my clients and my own birds. It is important to note that parrots are not a domesticated class of animals. So they're not like dogs and cats, they're not meant to live around humans. So we are going to encounter biting in our parrot owning experience just because we're trying to coexist with a wild animal. Another thing that you need to realize is that your parrot does not have a personal vendetta against you or your family members, whoever they may be biting. So without further ado, let's discuss the top 5 reasons why parrots bite. Number 1, diet. Seed diets have become all too popular, but what people don't realize is how horrendous these diets are for parrots. They have none of the nutritional value that parrots need, and they cause untold damage to your parrot's body and mind over time. So imagine feeding a child junk food constantly. That child is not going to feel well and therefore not behave well because of what it's being fed. And it's the exact same with parrots. When people put them on these junk diets, whether it's these seed diets or these colorful jungle mixes, we are pumping our parrots with junk and then getting frustrated when they act badly and they start biting. So diet is a huge thing, and it is very important that you do a lot of research into your specific type of parrot's needed diet or required diet. What I have right now on the screen is just a basic general chart of what a parrot's diet should look like. Please keep in mind this is very general. As you can see in this chart, we need to be giving our parrots a lot of pellets, a lot of veg and grains, and then very little fruit and nuts, and even less seeds. And when we do give them seeds, it needs to be healthy kinds. So another thing that I want to talk about quickly with regards to diet is unhealthy eating within healthy diets. So this is when people say, oh no, I know the risks of seeds. And so you have your parrot on a different diet to seeds, but it's still not healthy enough. This tends to be when people give their parrots a lot of fruit, typically apples and grapes, and nuts as well, something like that, or a lot of cooked human food. This is not a healthy parrot diet. The healthy parrot diet that we should have our birds on is is the one that I've just shown you on screen. It does vary according to species. Okay, so let's move on to number 2. Boundaries. Boundaries are so important for any animal, really. When we're trying to coexist peacefully with our animals, we need to have boundaries in place. Parrots are not cuddly creatures. I will say it again. Parrots are not cuddly creatures. They do not want to be held, they do not want to be cuddled, and if they do, it is most likely a hormonal behavior. Now, I'm not talking about scratching a bird's head like this, as you can see. A lot of species enjoy this, like conures, macaws, cockatoos. A lot of species enjoy having a head scratch and spending time with their humans. I'm saying you need to have physical boundaries in place. If we observe parrots in the wild, they never hold onto each other or hold each other down to show affection. The most they'll do is sit next to each other and preen each other, and that is a perfectly acceptable behavior for us to mimic as well. But it's when we cross these boundaries and don't listen to our bird's body language that biting often occurs. But another way that we can implement boundaries is also how much time they spend with us. So this is what we like to call the difference between cage time and human time. Cage time is also extremely important. A lot of people see being in the cage as a very bad thing or something that is punishment for a bird, but if we can set their cage up in a way that it becomes their safe space, that is awesome. Now, we're not talking about making our parrots cage bound. We never want to have a cage bound bird, but we do want them to be able to want to be in their cage at times for some quiet time, some downtime. And this then translates into boundaries with sleep. A lot of people don't know how important sleep is and how much it can affect their behavior. So sleep is extremely important for parrots. They need at least 10 to 12 hours each night of complete blackout silent sleep. So once the sun starts setting outside, we need to be feeding our birds, make sure they're fed, make sure they're happy, and make sure that they're in the cage, covered, put away, having that downtime. He's scratching his own head. This is when I see overnight results, literally, with my clients, because their birds are finally getting that needed rest, that needed recuperation. So this then moves us on to point number 3. These 2 points, point number 2 and point number 3, really go hand in hand for me. So point number 3 is hormones. So hormones definitely make our birds feel horrible. They usually set in at the age of 2 and don't leave our birds for pretty much the rest of their life. There are 2 times of the year where your bird's hormones are going to be particularly rampant, and that is in the spring and in the autumn. Now, when this time comes, birds are extremely frustrated. We need to remember that mating and having babies is a very, very big part of birds' lives in the wild, and that in the wild they would have a mate to fulfill these needs with. Now, before we move too far from boundaries, this is where boundaries come in again, because we can oftentimes frustrate our birds even more during these hormonal periods by touching them in a way that is inappropriate and that we may not even realize. A general rule of thumb is to not pet your bird below the neck. We're trying to be a flock member, not a mate. And we need to translate this to our bird and how we deal with them as well. So if we're busy touching their back, this is where a mate is only allowed to touch them. We aren't their mate. We need to stop doing this. And I know this is really hard for some people, but please get over it. Stop frustrating your bird. You're just making them sexually frustrated, which is going to lead to them biting you even more. Another 3 things that we can implement during hormone season is space, routine, and balance. Giving our birds needed space during this time of frustration and misery is really important. Just knowing when to back off is going to be essential for them. Having routine in place as well, the naturally captive routine to be specific, has done wonders for my birds, to the point where I don't even see that much of a change in them during their hormone season, because I prepare in advance to deal with their hormones and change up their routine appropriately to just help them feel a lot better during this time. Number 4, communication and training. So a lot of times biting is caused by not understanding your bird's body language. Body language is something that we need to learn. Whether we have a budgie, whether we have a macaw, we need to be educated to an extent on bird body language. This is going to help us to avoid these situations where our birds are going to want to bite us. What are you doing? So biting is often turned into your bird's only way of communicating something to you. So a way that I can explain this is, one of my clients had an African grey that she'd had for many, many, many years. 5 years she had issues with him biting. Now, he would bite for everything. If she tried to pick him up, if she tried to take him out of the cage. But the reason for this is because she had accidentally translated to him that biting was a way for him to get what he wanted. So a lot of times we might also try and discipline our birds. They bite us, we put them in the cage. Now, this is just one example, but this is a way that we actually translate to them, hey, every time you bite, you're gonna get put in your cage. And while we might think that that's discipline, they might think, hey, I don't wanna be around you anymore. I wanna go to my cage. How am I gonna get you to put me in my cage, because I can't speak the same language as you? They bite us, we put them in a cage, they connect the dots, and bada bing bada boom, we have a biting issue. So that's just one example of a way that biting can become a way that your bird communicates with you. It's not out of a horrible place, it is just simply because they're frustrated. They can't speak the same language as us, we can't speak the same language as them, and it ends up being their only form of communication with us. Training also comes into communication with our birds, because it is pretty much the only way that we can speak the same language as them. So, target training. I'm a huge advocate for target and clicker training. This is such an amazing method of communicating with our birds. We'll definitely take the time to speak about target training and clicker training in particular in another video. Avoiding situations where your bird is going to bite is very important for me, because every time your bird bites you and you repeat a reaction, you repeat a behavior on your part, whether that's putting them in a cage, we are breaking that bond, we're breaking that trust, and we're reinforcing the behavior of biting. So just try to be the one who is ahead in the situation, who can look ahead, look at your bird's body language and say, okay, she's gonna bite or he's gonna bite right now, and move away from the situation. Number 5, our final point, is health. Birds are extremely good at hiding their health problems. And this can be particularly frustrating for those of us who take care of our birds really well, because your bird can start biting all of a sudden, and it's simply because they're not feeling well within themselves. There can oftentimes be a lot going wrong on the inside, and they don't know how else to act because they're not feeling well or they're in pain, and so their behavior deteriorates. This is why it is absolutely essential to take your bird to an avian vet, and specifically an avian vet who knows what they're doing. And if we can get tests done and just make sure that they're generally healthy, just make sure that you know what's going on inside of your bird, because they're not able to tell you and you're not going to be able to see, because we are untrained professionals and we need the help of our avian vets from time to time. You're not alone in this. We are here to help you. Please check out the link in the description below if you want a one-on-one consult to try and figure out what is going on with your bird. I would be delighted to meet you and your bird and to help you through your issues, and to of course put you onto the naturally captive way. It is life-changing for birds. I've seen it firsthand with mine. I hope this video helped you to getting some sort of insight into why your parrot might be biting. Don't forget to like this video if you did enjoy it, and subscribe so you don't miss those future videos that we spoke about today that are going to take a deep dive into specifics such as diet, hormones, and training and communication. Check out our Instagram and our other socials where you're gonna get to see behind the scenes of these guys and my other birds as well. I have to go see to my birds. Say bye. Bye. Bye, guys.